Hello and welcome. Hollywood star John Cusack was branded one of the so-called Brat Pack back in the 1980s when he co-starred in hits like Class, 16 Candles and Stand By Me. He went on to co-star in, among other films, Con Air, Grosse Pointe Blank, being John Malkovich, The Grifters and High Fidelity. John also has 4 siblings in the movie industry, including sister Joan Cusack. But back in 1985, he co-starred opposite Daphne Zuniga and Nicollette Sheridan in a movie called The Sure Thing, directed by the great Rob Reiner. A road trip romantic comedy, it got some very good reviews at the time and is still regarded as something of a gem in the genre, mainly due to the excellent performances from John and Daphne. Back then, I caught up with John by phone shortly after the film was released and started by asking him about Rob Reiner's approach to directing actors.
Well, congratulations. I like the film very much. It's nice to see, along with films like The Breakfast Club, films being made about teenagers that aren't just all sort of car chases and peering through holes into people's showers.
Yeah, it's kind of a change.
One of the things you say in the press kit here, which intrigues me, is that Rob Reiner fine-tunes his scenes beyond belief. How exactly does he do that?
Well, comedy, in his viewpoint, and I guess in mine too, can almost be like, can almost be like a song. It's got its own rhythm, and it's got a melody to it, and a lot of times it's hitting the right pitches, and whatever I would give to him in the scene, or whatever scene would be doing, he would be so in tune to it that he would really be able to follow each word that I said and the exact way I'd say it, and would really, he would just fine-tune the scenes. He would say a little less there, a little more here. He was just more involved than most of the other directors I'd work with.
Right.
A lot of directors will let actors do their own thing and not really, bother them too much.
Right.
Rob was very involved with the actors.
So did you have a...
Well, that's because he was an actor, I think. He understands what actors go through and really knows how to communicate well with them.
Right. Did he, though, have a couple of weeks of rehearsal period before you started shooting?
He had a week of rehearsal period.
Right.
And that was nice. We really just kind of went over the scenes and how we were going to plan and why they were important and what role they played in the whole story. And then we just went out and did it.
What would you describe the film as?
I would, a romantic comedy, really. I'm not sure if I would call it a teen film. I guess it would, because actually the characters are in college. They're not in high school.
Mm.
They're on the verge of being adults, young adults. I would just call it a comedy, romantic comedy. Because I think that the comedy in The Sure Thing doesn't lie on teens awkwardly fumbling around with sex. It relies on different characters and situations and not really your average teen film plot or situation. So I would just call it a romantic comedy. If it works, it works, but I don't think it works. I don't think it's a good or bad teen film. I think it's a good or bad film.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think I sat there with a kind of a smile on the face all the time, which I think is a good reaction to have to a film.
That is nice. That is a good reaction.
The casting of the role, as far as you were concerned, did it come directly from 16 Candles and Class, or was there something else?
Well, actually, it came from Class. Rob had seen what I did in Class. He requested to see me, and I was out in Los Angeles. I live in Chicago, but
right.
I don't live in Los Angeles. I live in Chicago, and I was being flown out to audition for The Breakfast Club. John Hughes had wanted me to be in that, or he had, I was up for the part of John Bender in The Breakfast Club. And when I was out there, Rob requested to see me from the work I did in Class.
Right.
I walked in and I read with Daphne, and she was just terrific, and things kind of worked.
Yeah. How did you see your role, the character? Was he a particularly confident guy, or was he just somebody who was for one of those brief periods that you go through as a teenager trying to find himself?
I think a little bit of both. I think that he's a little cocky in the beginning, but I think he's also a little bit depressed in the beginning. He thinks that he's in a slump with women, And what's really happening is he's beginning to mature a little bit and change, and he's really yearning for something more than just getting laid. He just doesn't want to have sex. He's kind of yearning for a relationship, although he doesn't know it. So I think he's just kind of the kind of guy you'd meet who is very outgoing, very fun-loving, but he's confused, and he's kind of trying to get his head clear, get his thoughts together. Like I think everybody is. I mean, I'm 18, and I still do that, and I think that everybody does.
Have you been in sort of similar situations where you've not so much a desire to get laid, but I mean, been sort of intrigued by a girl who really isn't paying too much attention to you?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, most definitely. That happens all the time. You want what you can't have, right?
Yeah. What would be your instinctive way of going about trying to attract a girl's attention then?
I don't know. I think that I would probably be as comical as Gibb. You know, I don't. I really don't know. I would just try to get to know her without making a fool of myself. Probably.
Well, that's why I was asking. Actually, I wondered whether or not you would take the same sort of comic bravado approach.
I don't think I would be as consciously. I don't think I would be as clumsy as he was. I would try to be a little bit more suave. It probably wouldn't work, and then I would probably be pretty funny.
You, I gather, still live at home, do you?
Yes.
Right. So.
I'm not home much. I'm usually in either New York or L.A. or in Chicago, but
for work.
Yeah.
Right. Have you done a film since The Sure Thing?
Yeah, I did two more. I did two this fall. One called Natty Gann, which the name's going to be changed. And one is called Better Off Dead.
And who were in those with you?
Let's see, Natty Gann, a lady named Meredith Salinger, and in Better Off Dead, a young actor named Curtis Armstrong, Diane Franklin, Amanda Weiss, David Ogden Stiers, Kim Darby, there's that one. There's a lot of people in it. No big names, though.
What and what are the two films? Are they teenage films?
Not really. Natty Gann is a period film on the Great Depression. It's the story of a little girl who's trying to find her father. I have a nice supporting role in that one. And Better Off Dead is, I guess you could call it a teen film because it does take, it shows a teenager's life. A character I play called Lane Meyer, but it really is so broad and so farcical and so crazy. I haven't really seen a script like it, so I don't think it's a genre film. It isn't a teen sex film or even a film like The Sure Thing. It's just kind of very insane, larger than life, farcical, crazed comedy.
And who directs that one?
A young writer and director named Steve Holland, who calls himself Savage Steve Holland.
Savage Steve.
That's what he calls himself. That kind of gives you an idea about what that picture's about.
Yes. And so, do you have plans to go to university, or are you going to just get stuck into the professional work?
No, I'm going to go to NYU next fall, New York University.
All right. Studying what?
I think liberal arts.
So that'll include drama and so on, with literature, etc.
Yeah, I think I really want to just, read.
Right. So how do you split your time? Then you say you're spending a lot of time in LA and New York and obviously working. What's it going to be like when you start at college? You'll obviously move away from home for a start.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll live in Greenwich Village or Soho in New York and maybe do a show in New York, stage show, and basically just study and really just kind of try to use my mind a little more.
So, but you will be able to do some work in between the studying.
I think so. I mean, I'm not jumping to do a film just for the sake of doing a film. I'm really trying to find a really good next one because I think The Sure Thing was a pretty good effort, and I don't want to. I want to do things that are at least up to that standard in intelligence and in quality. So I'm not jumping to do a film. I'd rather just do some stage work or just study for a while until the right film comes along.
Right. But when did The Sure Thing get released in America?
It was released Here, let me think. March 1st.
So how's it done, box office-wise?
It's been about 15, 20, 25 million.
Really?
It's not an $80 million film or anything, but it's doing well.
And how was it received critically?
It was received very well critically. It got rave reviews in the United States. The reviews didn't match the box office, really. I mean, the box office didn't match the reviews.
Right, yeah.
But there are a lot of really terrific films that don't do huge business in the States.
Right. And I gather that your father is also in the business, is he?
He's not in the Hollywood business. He just did a film on biogenetics and the dangers of genetic engineering.
Right.
So he's not really, he hasn't been into the L.A. Entertainment.
The Hollywood scene.
Yeah, he's not really in that way connected with the business.
Right. But he is still a filmmaker.
Yeah, he's a filmmaker. Yes.
Right. So where did your interest in the whole thing come from?
I don't know. I don't really know. I think I intuitively had a desire to try to do it, and I was lucky enough to get involved with a theater workshop at an early age, which is very nice because then I was exposed to literature and I was exposed to the stage at an early age, so I'm sure that gave me a jump. A lot of people was that I was acting at an early age.
Right. And you've got a couple of sisters that have also at least had a go in the business.
Yeah, my sister Joan is an actress. She's now in Europe, roaming around, having fun. And my sister Ann is running a dance studio in Washington, D.C. But Joni is a working actress.
Right. So do they sort of have ambitions to continue in the industry as well?
I think so. I think Joni is going to be an actress, definitely.
Right.
I'm not sure if Ann is. I'm not sure if she's into it.
Okay. Just on the film itself, I'm just trying to, I'm running through my head sort of some of the scenes to ask you whether there were any sort of offbeat or strange things that might have happened that either weren't in the script but ended up in the script, or...
Well, we did get to improvise a lot, or I did.
Yes, I gathered it.
Because Rob is very open to that, and he really knows how to control within a film, because you can't improvise too much. You have to really, the script is the structure of the story, and it's very important. But if you can improvise within its boundaries, if you can improvise intelligently, sometimes it can work very well. The shotgunning of the beer. Remember when I take the beer and I put the pen in the bottom of the beer can and drink it?
Yep.
That part?
Yep.
We improvised that. That was never scripted.
Right.
That's something I used to do in Chicago in the winter with my buddies.
Right.
Brought that in.
I think you'll horrify a lot of Australian beer drinkers doing that out here.
Pretty crazy.
What about other sequences, like jumping into the truck when the guy sort of is attempting to chat up Daphne?
Yeah. That was actually an interesting scene because when we did it, I was trying to really be physically menacing, and I think that would have been the wrong way to play the scene. I think the charm of that scene is that he never really hurts the driver or physically scares him. He just so completely loses his mind. Everyone is so dazed for a minute that they kind of sneak out of the situation.
Yeah.
And so I remember doing it for about 2 or 3 takes. I was just doing it the wrong way. And Rob said, well, this isn't working. And I said, well, let's leave. And we left the set. We went and we just went over, me and Rob, for about 20 minutes. And then we came back. And what you see in the movie is what we did.
So did you tell him that you were sort of going to go over the top, crazy?
Well, he said that we agreed on that was the way it had to be done. I was trying to be very menacing, very soft and menacing, and it just wasn't working. And I guess the only way for it to work was for him to go so completely out of his mind that the audience, that the other characters were in such a state of shock or enjoying watching it so much that they just both sneak out of the situation.
Yeah.
That was kind of a difficult scene, but I'm glad that
it worked.
Yeah.
Any other scenes at all that you sort of that were your inspiration that you were able to add to it?
Well, I think a lot of lines here and there, like in the beginning when I'm talking to my buddy about which colleges we're going to go to, and he says you could be coming out to California with me, And I say, all right, you'll get a totally bitchin' education out there, you know. Little things like that, because that happens to be my attitude about California.
Right.
You know, a little bit.
Right.
Not seriously, but I think in jest, you know, we would add little lines here and there, and things like that.
Right. Nicollette Sheridan, she hadn't done anything before this film, had she?
No, she'd been a very successful model.
Right. And was she done a Playboy spread or something like that?
I don't think she's done that.
No?
No.
Somebody mentioned that she was that she'd been in Playboy or something.
I don't think so. I probably would have gotten that issue. I don't think she was in Playboy.
Right. Okay. All right, John. Well, thank you very much for making yourself available. All the very best with the university.
If you need anything else, you know, don't hesitate to call.
Okay.
John has appeared in almost 100 films over a career spanning 40 years, but has also been both a producer and screenwriter on a number of projects. His latest film is an action thriller called Pursuit. He turned 57 in June 2023.